Everybody, this is Dr. Flight. Hope you're doing great today. I've got a video that will walk through 6 different principles that help guide the marketing philosophy, if you will, for your firm or your organization. Again, marketing is something that individuals do, for-profit organizations do, non-profit organizations do it, are involved with it. Also agencies of many types. So when we're talking about principles, we're talking about principles of marketing. We're talking about marketing elements that will help guide the firm and think of the firm from a market-based perspective. So jumping right in, let's just go right to it. Principle number 1. Focus on the customer. So what I want to just mention about this is this idea that a lot of times organizations focus on what they do, and that's of course natural. What does the firm or organization do? Do they make things? Do they produce things? Are they a distributor? Do they ship things or move things from one place to another? And when we talk about making things, sometimes we're talking about physical products, but maybe you're a service company and you offer a consulting service or some type of intangible product like that. But that's what you do. You do that service. Maybe you organize stuff, or maybe you collect information. There's a whole host of things that the firm does, and a lot of times, from an organizational perspective, the focus gets placed on what we do, and sometimes we lose sight of the bigger picture when that happens. So at the end of the day, somebody, and I call them a player, whether that's an individual person, a family household, another business, or an agency, or a government office, somebody will use what you do. So again, step 1, we often think of the things we do as the purpose of the business. But let's take it one step further and think about this idea that when we do something, it's going to be for somebody else, some other organization, or again a consumer, or something to that effect. So if we focus all of our concentration, if we only see our organization as a doing organization, then that's maybe a little short-sighted. And that's this idea of focusing on who will use, or who will benefit, if you will, or who will take what you do and put it into some type of practice or some type of behavioral pattern. So focus on the player, the who will use what you do, as opposed to what you do, is really the idea here between, kind of on this single principle. What business are we in? What business could we be in? What business do we want to be in? And what do we need to do to get there? And so when we talk about this whole doing thing, I will challenge your organization to not be so functionally focused on the do process, but more focused on who will be using what you do. And this translates into, what we are as a business, what value we produce in the greater space. And that will help guide your organization quite a bit. Okay. Principle number 2. Only compete in markets where you can hold a competitive advantage. Marketplaces are formed when there are groups of buyers who come in contact with groups of sellers. And so specifically, and from a terminology standpoint, when we talk about buyers or groups of buyers, those are markets. And we meet markets in a marketplace. That's what sellers do. They come together in a marketplace, and and transactions or exchanges happen. Problematically, or to kind of add to the mix, though, when consumers come into or buyers come into the marketplace, they're not just evaluating our product and service that we're offering, but they evaluate everybody else's products and service too. So, so this is a comparative thing, where the consumer, the buyer, has to pick and choose which product offering satisfies their needs the best. So we ask questions like, will we stand out as unique or different from our competitors in the eyes of the consumer? In what ways are we superior? What do we offer that will compel a buyer to select our product or service again over those of another firm? If our firm can't provide a unique offer based on what the customer requires, then our long-term goals, our long-term sales, our profit margin, or our market share, those things simply are not feasible. So what we want to be able to do then is either, number one, develop a competitive advantage where we are superior in some facet over our competitors, and then sell the customer on that one point of superiority or distinction. But if we can't do that, then we have to find other markets to sell to where we can do that, if that makes sense. So in other words, we don't want to be competing in a marketplace or a space where we have no ability to stand out, be unique, and form what we call a competitive advantage. And we'll learn later on in the term that when we do have some uniqueness or some distinction that we can offer, if it's something that we can maintain for a long period of time, that distinctiveness is what we leverage in order to make the performance indicators move, like sales and profit margin and so on and so forth. Okay, so it begins with being distinctive and having a distinctive capacity that sets you apart from others in ways that the customers want, and that's really important. One of the things that one of the guidelines is we need to understand what the customers require in their products in order to satisfy their needs sufficiently, and then we need to be superior in those requirement bases. Okay, principle number 2. All right, we're moving right along, so please feel free to pause the video if you need to and whatnot. But principle number 3 is that when we produce a product, when we do what we do as an organization, whether it's a service or a product, customers will spend money, whoever that is, whether it's an individual or a family household or another business. They'll spend money with us, but they're not buying our product. They're buying a solution that will satisfy their need or want. And so sometimes, again, when we focus too much on what we do, we lose sight of the customer's needs that are actually being satisfied. So we kind of come around to this as a value-based transaction in terms of satisfying that need. Now, no doubt, if we are able to satisfy their needs, good outcomes happen. I mean, the things that we want to happen inside the firm will transpire. We'll have greater sales volume. In other words, if you're meeting their needs as opposed to just selling them a product, if it's a needs-focused emphasis that we have, greater sales will happen. We'll be able to charge more for our products, which is called a price premium. Customers will buy more frequently. They'll have greater word of mouth where they tell their friends and other colleagues about our products, who then buy our products, and they're more loyal, and so on and so forth. So there are lots of different outcomes that happen when we again focus on satisfying a need as opposed to selling a specific product. Keeping in mind that customers, and we have this kind of idea of heterogeneity and homogeneity in our marketplaces, which is another principle, but consumers often have slightly different needs, and that requires a nuanced approach and a nuanced ability to manage our products and services, that again, we're not producing a product, we're satisfying a need. And that's kind of the overall concept here in principle number 3. Okay, shooting on to principle number 4. Pardon me. Marketing is a ethos or a philosophy. A lot of times it's a way we approach doing business when we use marketing-based management or marketing-based tactics. But at the end of the day, organizations want to move in a certain growth perspective. So when we talk about what the organization wants to do from quarter to quarter or year to year, we want to generate growth in revenue, in sales, number of units sold, the volume that we sell, and the specific price points that we charge, which alludes to some some profit margin elements. Okay, but if we're going to grow, there are going to be 4 things that we are going to look to track as an organization. One will be growth through sales revenue. One will be growth through profit margin, which can be impacted by either being able to charge a price premium, a better price or a higher price extracted from the market, or lower our operational costs. Can focus on profit margin from both perspectives, but if we can sell to customers, for instance, at a lower price or a lower cost, then that improves profit margin. But also, if we could get customers to spend more with us per unit, then that obviously increases profit margin too. So this is a little bit different from simple volume. You may actually raise your price, lower your volumes in sales, but still make more money. All right. So this is kind of a nuance, but again, it's a form of growth that we look to leverage, look to move as we do business in general. Okay, market share is a competitive positioning issue. When we think about market share, we think of our proportion or our percentage or our ratio of sales that are spent in the market to our products and our firm organization, as opposed to our competitors or others who offer a product in our space as well. And then the exploitation of new markets. We often look to grow or expand business by finding new customers or new groups of customers to sell to. This may be the generation of a new product. We may create new products in order to enter new markets, or we may go into markets we've never been in before, expand our, footprint, if you will, into new geographic areas or new segments of markets that we haven't ever been exposed to in the past. And again, this is a form of growth. This leads to greater sales. It leads to greater revenue coming into the organization. Now, all of these things are organizational efforts. And all of these things are things that we do specifically in marketing as a strategy. So our marketing strategies that we engage in, whether it's understanding the customer better, product development, whether it's distribution, there's all the different things that we do, advertising, communications, all those things that happen in the marketing functional space bleed over and transfer into these universal goals that are enterprise wide. They are what we do as a business to grow. Investors want to see all these things. Our paychecks depend on all these things. So what we do in marketing can be viewed very holistically, in the sense that the things and outcomes that we want to achieve as a result of our marketing strategy is really not a functionally siloed, concept. Now, some of the things that we do when we get our hands dirty and when we execute the actual plans that we put in place, those might be in a department or a departmentally focused thing, but from a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer perspective, marketing is very much an organizational wide concept. We can even think of it from a branding perspective too. When we talk about branding, we're talking about branding and what people think about the whole organization, not just our products, not just what they see on the shelf, not the ads they see, but the whole perception of the organization is a brand, and that is clearly organizational wide and not a departmental type of thing. Okay, principle number 5, something that is constantly evolving, and evolution and change is principle number 6. But this idea that markets are heterogeneic as opposed to homogeneic. So in other words, when we talk about this homogeneity concept, homogeneous markets are ones that we would also call generic markets, where there's a generic need or a generic want. And many people, we used to call this, or we still call it, I guess, mass marketing, where we use one approach to reach many people simultaneously. So one ad campaign, one pricing scheme, one distribution philosophy. Those are all, like, if we use one approach to reach everybody, by default we are categorizing everybody as homogeneic or similar to each other or generic by their need. An example, people want a sweet tasting and refreshing drink to quench the thirst, of course. Well, that's a very generic need. There are many different products and different product categories that could satisfy that need. Lemonade, Kool-Aid, soda, sweet tea, and so on, right? That idea that somebody wants something sweet, they want something, just to quench it. Again, generic in need with lots of different products satisfying it. But what if we want a group of people who only are seeking a clear beverage that is diet or doesn't have calories in it, and they want it cold or something like that? That eliminates a lot of these, and it more narrowly focuses the definition of the market. Continue that mindset of narrowing the market by specific need or wants, and you can go from mass marketing to everybody with one appeal to what we call one-to-one marketing, where we have a uniquely designed product for a specific individual person, not just even a small group. It could be in one-to-one, literally a one-to-one perspective. Now, there are pros and cons to both extremes of the concept here, but keep in mind that markets are very much divided and discerned by these individual groupings and things that we need. So heterogeneous, when we use that term, the markets that we're talking about now, people still want a sweet tasting, refreshing drink, but they have some very unique and specific elements or requirements that they have, and the combination of those requirements will help us create a unique preference profile for each individual person. And this is a move that is being made, where we as consumers want to continue to have our products defined and designed specifically for us. A great outcome of this, or an illustration of this, and many of you are familiar with these machines. Coca-Cola, it's called the Freestyle. This is this machine where, as you walk up, instead of just getting one or two offerings, you can literally customize your beverage in hundreds of thousands of different ways, depending on what you want and your unique preference profile for a cool, sweet tasting, perhaps refreshing drink. Okay, so again, just kind of think about this evolution or this move towards specificity and heterogeneity among what consumers are looking for. Incidentally, while the costs are greater, generally speaking, to do a one-to-one approach, customers tend to be far more satisfied by getting a product they exactly want in the marketplace. Okay, so that's principle number 5, that there's this push towards an increasing need to specify individualism in our markets, but then also in what we do from a business perspective. Okay, number 6, and finally, 6 principles that are forming and shaping the way we think of marketing oftentimes today is to maintain this idea that markets and customers are continuously changing. Now, as I use the word changing, I mention here that evolving may be a better way to think about the interface between businesses and industry and consumers and markets. So remember, there are 2 components here. There's the producers of products and services or solutions to consumers' needs, and then there are the consumers and folks who actually put into practice, into use, what is produced by firms and industries. Now, on both sides of the equation here, there are constant changes, constant maneuvers, constant things that we think of. As you go through studying a market, studying an industry, we have what we call these things called macro environmental trends. And these can be things like changes in the economic landscape, cultural changes and shifts, new or dismissed regulations and rules and laws, technology changes, so changes in technology that can be inputted into your processes or your new products, environmental changes, and so on. So think of like these macro environmental shifts that are changing, and these are constant. These aren't things that are like all of a sudden something's here. All of a sudden we have global warming. No, this is a gradual thing. All of a sudden we have immigration and new groups of consumers who have different profiles, purchase profiles and consumption profiles. This is a gradual thing. So it's an evolution, in other words, of change that's constantly happening. And this obviously impacts firms and how they produce products for evolving markets, but also impacts customers too. Customers see that there's new technology. I mean, we look at electronic or electric components in cars, whether it's a fully electric car or whether it's a blend of a hybrid. That technology is changing how people make consumption patterns and choices as well. At the end of the day, though, these evolutionary aspects can be a very good thing. They can actually encourage or promote innovation, right? So when a old technology is dismissed, new technologies allow customers greater value, but they also allow firms to innovate and to create new products and take marketplace advantages and things like that. So this evolution is a very, very good thing, unless you're a company that doesn't see it or doesn't want to change or wants to stay static. So no market condition is truly static. Often in the case, markets evolve and adapt appropriately on a constant basis. And again, this is a really, really good thing. This creates lots of market opportunities for businesses to expand and to grow and to make more profit and all of that. But it also helps consumers because they get better products and they get better ways to solve their solution, their issues or problems or whatever needs and wants they have. Okay, so this was just a quick video on 6 different principles that we're really focusing on that help lay the groundwork a lot of, in some sense, as to why we do marketing, what some things are we need to think about as we do marketing, as we do the strategy and we do the things that we do. I want you to bear in mind these broad elements that we're talking about. Okay, please reach out to me if you have any questions, and obviously have a great day. I hope you're doing good.